Good day, it's Thursday, November the 4th. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. We've got CEO William Trainer joining us today of Vicinity Motor Corp. Vicinity is a leading North American supplier of electric vehicles for both public and commercial enterprise use. I've got Vicinity Motor here for a few reasons. Firstly, I've known the company and Will for many years, and they were the second company I interviewed when I started Radius Research. So thank you for doing that. And it's great to have them back because they've been sure busy over the last 6 months getting a lot of things done. Vicinity was and is on the forefront of new business models and technologies within the transportation sector. They seem to be transitioning nicely to the world of EVs with good partnerships and new customer adoption. They've got good access to capital, which is necessary in this highly competitive world of transportation and EV. So remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Will, thanks for joining us today, and let's get an update on how things are going.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Martin. We've had an awful lot going on here in the last little while, and I think if I just kind of walk through some of this on our investor deck, it'll kind of bring everybody up to speed to where we are.
That's great.
Yeah, so on our corporate overview here, what I always like to let the investor community know is that we're a corporation that started off with really clean diesel buses, CNG buses, and we're strongly transitioning into the EV market. We've had some very unique partnerships that we've announced recently. And that really enhances our sales capabilities for next year. We've projected sales of next year. We've come out and give some projections for our forecast of 140 million with about a $10 million EBITDA for next year. And that's a variety of different buses, but what I can, and vehicles, but what I can say is over 70% of those vehicles that will be delivered next year are all in the EV sector. So there's a very strong transition going towards electric vehicles. And for us, we have, as I walk you through here a little bit, we've got our VMC Vicinity Lightning, which really is a great fit for a shuttle bus. We've entered into some new relationships. We added a product lineup that we're looking after for North America, really worldwide, with this VMC Optimal partnership. That's a very interesting partnership because it adds a low-floor shuttle bus to our existing makeup of inventory that we're selling through. And it really helped us round out our sales dealer network throughout North America as well. And it just fit extremely well into the product line that we had. We launched a VMC 1200 small cab over truck that's really about a 12,000 pound GVWR vehicle, and the optimal vehicle with the conversion of a E450 fits into that market well with us as well. We had a strategic collaboration agreement that we've recently announced, and that's with the JD Poindexter group of companies. And as I walk through the deck here and show you what that does and how that fits into our plans, it's just quite amazing. So forecast, as I say, we forecasted 140 million with 10 million of EBITDA, and 70% of these vehicles are all EVs. We're trying to come out and give guidance for next year and really come out with some realistic guidance that we feel we can. We have, out of that 140 million of revenue, over 90 million of it's firm orders already. So we're just in a very great position next year for our delivery cycles. This gives you kind of a lineup of what we're selling and really where this optimal vehicle, VMC Optimal, fits into our lineup. We sell traditionally into transit markets, a lot of shuttle operators and transit operators throughout North America. So this S1 vehicle fit really well into it. It's a little smaller. It's really built on a Ford E450 chassis that's been converted to electric. But when we look at the lineup of this really has about a 24 seated capacity, where when you look at our Vicinity Lightning, we're up to 40 with standees in it. So this fits really into our existing customer base extremely well.
When you talk about that's based on a Ford, whichever model platform, like is that the front nose and the cockpit and the frame at the bottom all sort of Ford stuff, and then you put in the powertrain, or what? Yes. What parts do you add value, and what parts are you getting from Ford?
Yeah, so this fits into what really is considered, they call it a cutaway market. And yeah. So the manufacturers are buying vehicles from Ford, and this would be an E450, and then you convert it over and you make it electric, and that's where Optimal really shines. They're a very strong engineering group. They've brought quite a bit of product to life in the last little while, like Rivian and Bollinger. They were the basis for the engineering capability to bring those vehicles to life. So this Optimal vehicle is one that they brought out themselves. And then, we joined forces with them, purchased the rights globally to market this vehicle. But it's a converted E450 Ford model. What makes this one really stand out, I think, in the industry is that the engineering that's gone into it, it's got the highest safety rating in its class. And it's truly the first low floor shuttle that comes in. So when we look at low floor, what the transit agencies and a lot of shuttle operators want is they want the ease of use. They want to be able to walk on and walk off the vehicle, or if you have some disabilities, to be able to stroll your stroller or a wheelchair off and on. Generally, they deploy a ramp. So this is where the low floor comes in, and this is one of the first low floor vehicles actually come to market in that segment. So we're quite excited to really be getting the product out into the marketplace alongside of our Vicinity Lightning.
So could you just explain your relationship with them? They've done the design and the engineering, and you're marketing it, and are you getting it manufactured through your manufacturing partnerships? No.
So with this arrangement that we have with Optimal, they have a manufacturing facility down in Elkhart, Indiana, and they'll be producing the product for us down there. Now, it's branded a VMC product, so we'll take it to market. So they're looking after the manufacturing and the conversion of the F or the E450, and then we take it on from there and really look after all of the distribution of the product.
So I guess what this does, when you go to whatever, a transit authority, a hotel group, or a tourism group where they got to shuttle people around, if they want a cutaway style bus, you have that. You've got a whole portfolio. If you want a bigger sort of transit type bus, you have that all in the electric and non-electric form. So it basically gives you, leveraging your distribution and your sales channel, you can target a lot more. You don't have to walk away and say, oh, this RFP isn't for us because we don't have it in our portfolio.
Correct, 100%. So it just broadens our base of products that we're offering out to the marketplace. But in doing so, this vehicle fits well with the low floor capabilities and the safety ratings that we have with our vehicles. So we just feel it's just a great fit for us.
All right. And it's obviously at a lower price point than your other one, so it's just addressing a wider market.
Correct. Yeah, we've got the price point there of about $260,000, and you can look at our vehicle coming to life at around $350,000 to $400,000 in the market.
Yeah, and sorry, we're in Canada, but you're largely kind of a lot of U.S. Is these Canadian or U.S. dollars?
That's U.S. dollars.
That's what I thought. All right.
Now, when we look at this is exciting because when we look at this lineup of electric vehicles from class 3 really to class 5, 6 vehicles, we can offer now a complete cabin chassis or a complete chassis throughout that makeup of vehicles. The market is just amazing here when we look at that class 3 to 5 vehicles, there's over 400,000 vehicles sold in that classification annually each year. So this really comes into play with the JD Poindexter group of companies. So when we look at them, and particularly that EAVX group that looks after integrating electric vehicles into their body and chassis, body and van style boxes that they build. So I think this is going to be just an amazing fit for us. Particularly, I'll start off with this class 5-6. So this is really what brought us together with the Poindexter group originally. So when we look at this class 5-6 chassis, what that is that's really the chassis that our bus that we've designed for our Vicinity bus. And it's 22,500 GVWR, so that's where it fits into that class 5-6 chassis. But it's a low floor chassis. So we can offer this to their group, like the Morgan Olson group, that has 65% of the walk-in van market in North America. The walk-in van market alone is 40,000 vehicles a year. So we have a collaboration agreement to actually produce some of these chassis and deliver them so that they can put their walk-in vans on top of our chassis. So it really opens up the market greatly for us of where we can sell our existing vehicles into. And then we look at our VMC 1200. So what we did with the VMC 1200 is we'd gone ahead and we developed our electric Vicinity Lightning product. And in doing so, we did all the engineering. We developed a power distribution unit, the vehicle control unit, which is really the heart of the vehicle. So we took that same technology and we put it into this cab over truck. And initially what we wanted to do was be able to offer the truck to the same sort of customer base that we're selling into. An example, a municipal contractor or a municipal operator, they'd operate the buses in an area, but they also, in their works yard, they have a lot of small trucks that they operate for the municipalities or the cities. And so it's an existing customer base that we have. And now we'll be selling this truck with the same technology that we really built for the bus onto the truck. So it really just opened up our market for us. But then the agreements that or collaboration agreements that we've put together with the JD Poindexter group, they're in a need of electric chassis, these stripped down chassis for all of their divisions. One of their divisions is Morgan Olson, that is the walk-in van. The other one is Morgan, which I think they produce. I think I got a slide on that as we walk through it. But they're 50% of the body building for the walk-in for different types of vans. And then we get into one of their groups, which is the Reading Truck Division. And the Reading Truck Division, I do believe, has got about 150 dealers across North America that are buying their existing work bodies that go on trucks, and they're all looking for electrification to put these work bodies onto it. So what we recently did is a part of our collaboration agreement. We got a body, what we call a municipal truck body from Reading, and we put it on this VMC 1200. And we've taken that truck now and brought it down to the APTA show, which is on next week. It's one of the major transportation expos. APTA is the American Public Transit Association, and it's down in Florida. And it's massive. It comes around every 3 to 4 years. So we're showcasing all of our electric vehicles down there at that convention. And one of the vehicles that we're showcasing is this VMC 1200 with that Reading box on it. And in fact, we've got some of the JD Poindexter executives in our display booth with us, introducing that truck and that body to some of their divisions. So it's just, we feel we've just got some massive opportunity coming up for next year, and not any of this opportunity that I'm talking about is really forecasted into that 140 million of revenue that we're forecasting for next year. So we've really positioned ourselves to be a leader in this segment of vehicles and this segment of chassis going forward. The VMC Optimal-E1 is really just a stripped down chassis, and you can see it can go into a bus can go on it, body, work trucks, RVs, delivery trucks, and assortment of that. So it's a diversified product that just fits well into our portfolio as well.
Is that basically the frame for the optimal
S1? Yes, it is. But on the S1, what they've done is they've actually lowered it and converted it into a low floor configuration. So they've modified the chassis to step down to 11 inches riding height.
Yeah, yeah. And so what you're doing with this strategy, like with these, you're not selling the finished product, you're selling partially finished products where then partners can add different boxes or flatbeds or whatever to it, and then they can use your base engineering and your manufacturing network to develop the exact vehicles they need.
Correct. So, you know, that's exactly right, Martin. But it gets a little bit, when I look at it, this is what gets me excited about it. So we've got this full lineup of chassis as well that we're just entering the market for. But when you look at like that VMC 1200, so, you know, it's our intention that the VMC 1200, we can market that direct ourselves to a lot of the same customers, as I stated earlier, the municipal customers that are in that marketplace. But also, we're setting up a distribution dealer network for these trucks. We've started here in British Columbia. We had a announcement last week. One of the first dealers that we're just putting together up here ordered 100 trucks. So if you can envision, you know, just in Canada here alone, we're setting up on the provinces. We're looking to sign dealers in each province, and we're looking to, you know, take a minimum of 100 truck order from each of them, and then you multiply that down into the U.S. market, you know, with 50 states. It's a considerably large market that we're entering into, and the product's developed and we're ready to go to market with it. We're to market with it right now.
And I guess that, like, a dealership can partner with you now because you cover a much wider spectrum of their product, the required product portfolio, than you did a year ago. So you get to leverage services, you get to level your sales and support, your parts distribution, and all of that when you broaden your portfolio like this.
Correct. Yes.
All right. And yeah, like what BC's got, a 5 million person population, and that you're getting 100 trucks out of that, and then like that.
Oh yeah, but not just so. That's the initial order that that the dealer is putting in. To give you an example of these small work trucks, you know, the area that we're up in here and we're headquartered is in Vancouver here. The Greater Vancouver Regional District runs over 5,000 of these trucks through the municipalities alone, and that's just in the Greater Vancouver Regional District. And you got, you know, Toronto, and then just move down to, you know, Seattle and all the different areas. Where this little truck works for the municipalities extremely well is they put what we call a municipal box, and that's what we've got on display down at the APTA show. What it is it's a small dump box that goes on the back, but right behind the cab is a storage box where you can put in your shovels and your tools and garbage bags, because one of the main jobs that this truck does for the municipalities is it goes to the parks and collects the garbage on a daily basis. So they throw the garbage in the back of the truck, take it to the municipal dump, but it's something that has to be maintained on a yearly basis, and it's the municipalities that maintain the parks, and that's where you get the great number of these trucks just for the municipal side. But now when we look at the retail side is massive. Like I stated, there's over 400,000 class 3 to class 5 trucks sold per year. So it's just a massive opportunity for us, and I think we've positioned ourselves extremely well for it.
I'm curious, with the electrification going on, like the municipalities or independent contractors that are using these class 3 to 5 trucks, do they have the electrical infrastructure to charge them like overnight so they're good for the next day? In my neighborhood, there some like independent contractors park their own truck out front. Are they like run extension cords out, and how ready is as willing as the market wants it, how ready are they to adopt the electric infrastructure?
Well, and the very key point, thanks for asking that. So when we've developed the product, we've developed it to really be much like a Tesla car. So it has an onboard charger, it comes with a plug, and it charges into a standard 240 volt single phase power outlet, which every house has. You know, your dryers, your ranges, that's your standard capacity for your residential community. So it charges on an overnight charge, 5 to 6 hours, and then it'll run up to 150 miles. And in fact, you know, we've put 150 miles here, but we just finished up some extreme testing with that vehicle fully loaded, and it was averaging 180 miles. So it's got the charge range that you require for daily usage. But the other thing that we've done on that vehicle is we put, you know, basically onboard power. So it's got a 5 kilowatt onboard plug. So you can take it and you can plug 240 into it, or you can plug 120 volts into the onboard generator, call it, or onboard usage. And now you can power your power tools. So where this comes in, you know, the municipalities love it, because in the past they would have to run little generators and take generators out to run their power tools and various things, or even a construction company. So now you've got this onboard power that allows you just to plug in and use it. And we've had a lot of interest up here just since we introduced this vehicle, and it's got a lot of attention here because we've done a lot of testing in the city of Vancouver and in the local area. But we've had a lot of the film industry approach us and say, what is the capability? How much power can I get out of that vehicle? So if I didn't take it with a flat deck on it and I had an extended range batteries on it, what can I get? And we're in development right now of putting together some prototypes for the film industry, whereas they would not have to run their generators. They could charge this vehicle up, take it on, and use it as an onboard generation power outlet. And that's quite amazing, because in the film industry, what generally happens is they run a big generator, but the generator truck has to park a block away, and they have to run the cables down the street just so they don't get the noise in the filming area. And
The silence of that would be pretty impactful to them, I think.
Yeah. So there's a full range of opportunities for these vehicles, and you know, we're just glad we've got a great lineup that we can introduce.
Well, several years ago when we were chatting, I asked about the electric vehicles, and you said, oh, it's still a few years away. And it really seems to have hit sort of an inflection point where now everybody wants it. Are you a little surprised, or just, can you comment on just how quickly the market is turning from traditional ICE engines to internal combustion engines to the EV side, how strong that pivot of the industry is?
That's very good. Yeah, it's just been amazing. It's, you know, when I look at it, you know, we've all come through a pandemic. We're still dealing with some of it, but what that's done on both sides of the borders, it's brought a lot of infrastructure funding in place to levels that we've never seen before. So first of all, on the public side, you know, the transit agencies and various government agencies that can apply for a lot of these funding that's available, it's very easy for them to purchase a vehicle. So that's really picked up the sales cycle on traditionally, you know, transitioning their vehicles from diesel or CNG vehicles to electric vehicles. But the other thing that's really come about very quickly is, you know, you've got now, it's become very, how would I say this? If you're running a small fleet, just take for an example this VMC 1200, and you're a small delivery truck operator, you know, doing intercity deliveries. To purchase this vehicle, you can purchase it and save money every month, because you don't have the maintenance costs, you don't have the fuel costs, you know, even factoring in, you know, the cost of electricity. These things are natural winners now. And so you're seeing private corporations inquiring about these vehicles, because, you know, one, you know, you're creating a better environment for your children, for your grandchildren. You're cleaning up the environment, but not with less carbon coming out. But you're also now it's making business sense. And 3-4 years ago it didn't make business sense. I'll use an example. Our Vicinity Lightning. The vehicle comes to life here and it comes to market at between $350,000 and $400,000 US. You can buy a diesel bus for $250,000. So for $100,000 more, you get an 8 or a 10-year shuttle bus. That saves you money because the extra $100,000 taken over that time frame, you are so far ahead on a private purchase to buy the electric over buying the diesel. It just makes business sense.
And is that biggest value gain, is that from just the service and maintenance, which is so much lower on EVs, or sort of 50-50 between electricity versus service and maintenance, or are there other aspects?
Yeah. No, the biggest savings that you're going to get is definitely on the fuel side. You're not putting diesel or gasoline in the vehicle, and by far that's your biggest savings. But the other savings is the maintenance. You save, I think on the energy, you save about 80%, if I do believe, 70 to 80% less. If you take in and say, okay, what is it going to cost me for the electricity to run the same distance? What is it going to cost me for the diesel? You're 70 to 80% better savings than putting a diesel in. But then you look at the maintenance costs. You're 50% less maintenance with an electric vehicle. You don't have any oil changes, and just the general maintenance on the vehicle in itself is so such a reduction that you've got cost savings overall.
Are you seeing greater, like areas, let's say like BC or Quebec have very low power rates? Well, let's say New York or other, or maybe California, I don't know. Well, they have variable rates, but are you seeing the demand different based on sort of the low power rate regions versus the high power rate regions?
Well, I think what we're seeing is it's more of the incentive in the state itself or the region itself, the province itself, that's pushing a lot of the incentives. So, one of the things we have here in BC that's just coming to life is it's an incentive that the government gives back 33% of the total overall cost of the vehicle to the end user. That in itself just makes the vehicle so attractive. So we've had so much activity from fleets, plumbing companies and construction companies that are coming to us now and saying, how do I get on? How do I get that incentive program? So that definitely is a driver. But as I stated earlier, the public side, the transit authorities and whatnot, there's so much funding out there. It's amazing. Here in Canada, there's funding in place to change 5,000 vehicles over the next 5 years. That's 1,000 vehicles a year. And we think we're extremely well positioned for that. But then when you get into the US, you've got the infrastructure funding bill that should be passed here, any day, any month. And you're talking just crazy amount of billions of dollars that are going to go into changing out these dirty diesel vehicles into 100% electric. It's just massive. But then the other thing too, Martin, that we see is you've got different states that are mandating changeovers. Like I think the state of Washington stating, I think it's by 2025, and the state of California, they want to see 100% electric vehicles in some of these applications. So that definitely drives the push towards it. We have a factory that we're just putting up in Washington State. We had a groundbreaking down there a few months back with Governor Jay Inslee, and the support level that we're getting out of some of the U.S. states is just incredible. There's a big push on to clean up and get cleaner vehicles on the road, but we see Washington State as being a strong supporter of our vehicle sales there. One of the other ones we recently were awarded on, there's a lot of state contracts in the U.S., was the California state contract. We were qualified as one of the vendors on that contract. And the state of California feels that they're going to buy 8,000 vehicles off that contract within the next 5 years. So there's just so much opportunity out there. It's just amazing. And, we feel we've positioned ourselves extremely well. We've been executing. We've got all the tools in place that we need to really ramp up and expand our expansion and deliver on our execution here.
What I find interesting is that the total cost of ownership on the electric seems to be lower over the whatever 5 to 10 year lifespan, but then you've got the extra incentives that are, I would think, really going to juice the sales and the incentive to go electric.
Yes, well, if you look at the 33% here in British Columbia, that brings it down to basically the same level as what the diesel truck would sell for. And then you bring in the cost savings. It's just that's what's accelerating the electric vehicles are these incentives and these programs in place.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, thanks. That was a good little segue and deep dive into that.
Thanks. This just shows some of the some of our ICE stands for internal combustion engines. That's really where we started. We see that we're well on our way for this transition into 100% electric vehicles. Again, our flagship vehicle, why was it so successful? We have 90% market penetration in Canada. We've got over 600 vehicles operating initially with these vehicles. And it was really building the right product at the right size and choosing the right components. Brings you into about a 33% cost savings over the competitor. So it's been that's what's really accelerated in the beginning. But this is really what I get into. This is our new flagship. This is the bus that we've got on display down at the APTA convention. Which starts, I believe it starts on Monday. I'll be flying out Saturday to go down to for a week down to Florida. This is where we feel we've really, brought a vehicle to market that the competitors, I don't think they can compete with us with this vehicle, and for many, many, many reasons. One, if I go over this vehicle and why it's vastly superior. We designed this vehicle again with a clean sheet of paper. So we looked at, where do we have to be? One of the key things for us when we were developing the product was, what is the price range that we need to bring this product to market for? How can we achieve that? And then how can we make it superior for the customers, the operators, and the purchasers that are actually buying this vehicle? So what we did is we looked at what the automotive industry was doing. And the automotive industry has really standardized their voltage battery packs in around that 400 volt. That's what Tesla runs. We looked at what Tesla was doing, what made it so popular. And when you buy an automotive like a Tesla, it's sold with the plug. You get the plug with it, you bring it home, and you just plug it into your standard 240 volt single phase wall socket. And that's what we did with this vehicle. So our vehicle charges overnight, so it's very ease of use. We stayed to that, as I said, to that 400 volt. We see our competitors building a product that's in that 600 to 800 volt, but building it on a product base that was initially introduced quite a few years ago. And a lot of that technology come out of Europe, and Europe is all three-phase power. So a lot of the commercial vehicles that are coming to market today or in market today, which would be our competitors that are in this marketplace, a lot of their vehicles need to be charged with three-phase power. And three-phase power is very expensive to bring in if it's not in your area. Three-phase power, for those that don't know, is usually in an industrial park. A really high voltage industrial park would use three-phase power. Other than that, you don't find it. You find it in Europe, you find it in Asia, it's standard, but not in North America. So we wanted to stay with that automotive type technology. We developed the power distribution box, the vehicle control unit was all developed in-house by ourselves. And that really give us the capability to go out there and source the parts and pieces to make the vehicle be competitive and superior. So by putting in that those components, it allowed us to go to the automotive industry and price these components correctly. We have a Danfoss Edatron powertrain that's sourced out of the US. That's really an automotive-based industry standard. When I say automotive, the reason why we stay with the automotive is that in the automotive industry, if you're going to bring a new product to market, you have your sights on 1 million vehicles. That's what you want to get out of that model, because then all of the components are sized up, the supply chain's building up for that, and you get high quality, high volume, low cost parts. And that was what we wanted to do with this vehicle. And that's what we achieved by bringing in with that price point. We see our competitors coming in with the commercial grade components at $600,000 to $700,000. So we've got a huge price advantage. And where does that come in? You know, first of all, on the public side, when you're bidding, you come in at a better bid price. Second of all, on the US market's broken up 50% private and 50% public. So if you want to build a business case and you're a private operator, you can't afford not to buy our vehicle, because you're going to pay $250,000 for a diesel bus, or you're going to pay $350,000 for a 100% electric bus. And given that 8 to 10 year life expectancy of that vehicle, you are saving so much money. It just makes good business sense. The other thing that we did, which is very unique and our competitors don't do, is that we kept on this mid-size vehicle, we kept the GVWR to 22,500 pounds. And the reason we did that was it allowed us to look at what the industry was doing, particularly the school bus industry, and put hydraulic brakes, high-end hydraulic brakes on this vehicle. But the reason for that was that you don't need a commercial air brake ticket to drive it. A lot of our competitors are building the same size bus, but they're using air brakes on it, and they require a commercial air brake ticket. So again, when we're looking at what the market target was, and when I say 50% private, 50% public, this just hits the mark right on for the ease of use for those private operators as well. The other thing that we did is we incorporated the batteries into the low floor section of the bus. So it's truly a low floor unit. And this is key, because if you're a shuttle operator or a transit operator, you want low floor for ease of use. People can walk on, walk off. There's no steps to get up. Every time you put a stair or a step in there, you've got the capability of slipping and falling and injuries and various things like this. So the industry wants low floor, and that's what we achieved with ours. We look at some of our competitors that are selling against us, and they've gone with the commercial grade batteries, which are that 600 to 800 volt, and they require 3-phase power. A lot of them require that 3-phase power, but the batteries themselves are 12 to 14 inches thick. So you can't incorporate it and build it into the low floor section of the bus. So then you have to look at it and say, where are you going to put them? The competitors put them on the roof, which does not make for a good ride, makes for a very top heavy vehicle. And that's where I think this vehicle, when we go to market, just really, really shines out, and why we're going to compete in that space. And I think we're just going to dominate this mid-size bus size with our Vicinity Lightning.
Well, on the automotive powertrain, wouldn't an automotive powertrain be less durable and like handle the heavy loads of a truck and so forth? Or what is the trade-off by not going to the more commercial grade, or whatever that other grade would be called?
There isn't an advantage. You're going to get the same life expectancy out of that Danfoss one that we chose, as opposed to a high-end commercial one. Same life expectancy. It's just one's developed for higher current and it costs a lot more.
All right.
And one of the things that, when I like to talk about this is, when we were looking at our vehicle, we could have taken our standard 30 and 35 foot heavy duty units, which are on an air brake platform, and went to the industry. And there's a considerable amount of suppliers that will offer you a turnkey solution. So they'll say, we'll give you the batteries, we'll give you the power distribution, the vehicle control unit, the battery management, everything all in one. In fact, we'll even help you engineer it into your product. But because they're not going out and buying the components or where am I getting with that? The cost to do that is averaging around $400,000 if you want a turnkey solution. So if we had done that with our vehicle, we'd be in the same price range as everybody else.
All right. So you put a little more effort in the upfront sort of engineering it and really figuring out what the market wants, and then a little more upfront work and then a way better end product.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
This is the truck. I think I touched on it a little bit in the past there. So we really took the same technology that we'd used to develop the bus and put it into this small truck, cab over truck. 12,000 GVWR. It has about a 6,000 pound payload. Does 150 to 180 miles on a single charge. Just got tremendous activity on this truck right now.
When I was looking at your website earlier, I was looking. You had the horsepower and the torque on your trucks there. And I'm not a big car guy, but they seem to be kind of light on the horsepower. But I'm thinking they have really high torque. So you kind of have a payback there. Is this? Am I sort of guessing correct there?
You are, yeah. The torque on an electric motor is far exceeds that of a diesel engine or a gas engine. So you do get the torque in there. What you should look at, if you're looking at these vehicles, is really what is the gradability. How steep will the thing climb? Industry wants 30%, minimum 30% gradability, and that's where our vehicles come in.
All right. So
this is the Optimal-EV partnership. I think I touched on that a little bit in the past, but we're really, really excited. It's a great partnership. We do a profit sharing with them on the vehicle when it's built. But what this did is it opened up the market for us into a segment that we weren't in. We already had the sales and the service and the support systems put in place. So it really comes in and adds it adds a lot of volume and revenue at a very low SG&A. So it's a tremendous fit for us.
And when you sell this, they're manufacturing it, and you're in a sense, a sales agent of sorts? Are you having to buy the inventory and then sell it, or do they handle that cash flow requirement and you kind of clip a commission at the end? How does that work with?
Well, it's our revenue. We look after the vehicle and the distribution of the vehicle. But in essence, what happens with a lot of these, once it goes through the manufacturing cycle, they'll carry the whip and the manufacturing on it. And when you're placing these orders, we're looking for the dealers or the end users. They generally pay for the vehicle. They come and take acceptance and pay for it as they take delivery. So it's a very low, very low cash outlay for us, other than the initial payment that we made for the worldwide rights. But also, what it does is, now we're combining and bringing in, a bigger volume. So, we looked at this product and we said, okay, how does this partnership work, and where's the benefits for both of the companies? By just looking at battery and buying batteries and buying components, as we build our volume up, you're looking for better pricing. So overall, we can, as a combined unit, we can drop the bill of materials substantially on these vehicles, and of course that relates to higher profits.
Are you able to leverage each other's sort of purchasing power to get better buying rates, or are they?
Correct. Yes. That's part of it. Yes.
Entities?
100%, Martin.
Okay. And when you sell one of these, is the whole value of it gonna run through your P&L, or are you just gonna the like high margin sort of profit sharing go through you? Or if you sell for 200 grand shows up on your revenue, and then you pay Optimal their share of that?
That's correct. The arrangement we have is we really haven't gone out to market and, you know, put out what the arrangement is, but there's a profit sharing arrangement. They're building the product, we're marketing and selling the product. The revenue comes through us, of course, because we're the one that actually is doing the transaction with the end users or the dealer network.
All right, perfect, thanks.
And here, this is the collaboration agreement that I was talking about. So I think this slide really summarizes it up. The, you know, JB Poindexter group of companies, they have over $2 billion in revenue, and they estimate that, you know, in the U.S. they manufacture 1 out of every 2. One out of every 2 medium truck bodies out of their Morgan brand. That would be in the top corner. You can see the bigger truck body up in the top there. 2 out of every 3 step fans and the Morgan Olson. And that's big because if you look, you see the customers in that space are UPS and you know, United Postal. You know, there's a huge walk-in van market, and so they manufacture, you know, 2 out of every 3 of the walk-in vans, and I think that's where, you know, our chassis should fit underneath that perfectly. And then you go 1 out of 5 out of the utility truck bodies. That works out well for our VMC 1200 and our E1 truck as well, that is built by the under that agreement that we have.
All right.
So we feel that this is just a massive opportunity for us going forward, you know, to enter into this chassis market, and it's a market that we weren't in, we've never been in the past. Mark Hope, who's actually the CEO and general manager of the EAVX, which is the group that brings together all of the electrified vehicles for the JB Poindexter group. He'll be in our booth at the APTA show. We've got one of the municipal bodies mounted on our VMC 1200, so it's quite exciting.
And with the Poindexter joint venture with EAVX, has it been sorted out? Are you going to be selling the chassis to them and they bolt it, their sort of whatever top part onto it, the body onto it, and then they sell it, or you'll buy the body and put it on and sell it as a whole, or a bit of everything?
It's a bit of everything, but, you know, where we are very excited about this is, you know, just use their Redding brand. You know, their Redding brand has over 150 dealers in the US. So we would be selling our chassis to those dealers that are actually putting their bodies on it.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Our US assembly facility, manufacturing facility, it's well underway. We had groundbreaking quite a few months ago. The building will be completed by December 31st. Q1 will really be outfitting the specialized equipment that, you know, makes the assembly line run, and then we'll be producing vehicles in Q2. We have a capacity of about 1,000 units a year out of that factory. This is really key to our US success. You know, when we look at the vehicles coming out of here, a lot of the contracts that come out in the US, they're Buy America contracts. So when I say Buy America, the FTA funds a lot of these projects and a lot of the transit agencies and so on, government agencies in the US. And the requirement on those contracts is that you need to produce the vehicle. You need to manufacture the vehicle in the United States. And that's where this factory is gonna meet that requirement. You need 70% US content. We tick that box. And then you need to have a strong Altoona test done. And to date, all of our vehicles that have been Altoona tested have come out best in class. So this, to us, is really a key part of our execution for our US sales.
With your assembly plant, you said 1,000 units a year, which is a ton of production. But at the same time, the numbers you're throwing out there with your partners and that, one could see a way where you exceed that 1,000 unit capacity. Do you figure at that point you would expand that facility or maybe build a new one down in Georgia or somewhere like a different location? What are the, because it looks like you've got a bit of a tiger by the tail here. And if a bunch of these big orders start coming in, you could have like capacity issues where you're trying to juggle lots of orders coming through. That'd be a great problem to have, but nonetheless a problem.
Certainly would. So when we look at our manufacturing footprint, so we have the Washington State facility, which I stated is 1,000 units. We have the high capacity units are really coming will come out of Elkhart. The Elkhart facility can do, I think it's 6,000 units a year. And then we have contract manufacturing that's available for another 2,000. So we really see, a pretty clear path to get to 9,000, 10,000 units a year.
All right. Well, that's straightforward enough. Okay.
Yeah. So what I like to, leave with, and, we are really at that early stages of organic growth. If you ask me, what's my vision? Where do we need to be? I look at us as being $1 billion revenue corporation within the next 5 years. And I think we've got the framework in place to do that. We've got the management team in place to do that. And, we've expanded our US market presence to our dealer presence. We just walked through, scalability is there to get us up to the numbers that we want. We're capitalizing on the explosive growth that's in there, based on government orders. Government incentives have never been so high, state incentives, provincial incentives. There's a real path and a real funding to see that the unit sales can be there. And then the other thing that I really haven't talked about is our reoccurring revenue. We have units out in the marketplace today. I think we got over 600 units from our conventional units running in Canada. We've got a couple hundred right now in the US. So that creates some pretty good reoccurring revenue through our parts business. That reoccurring revenue is growing on a quarter by quarter basis. The parts revenue usually is around 30 to 40% gross profit, so it's high margin business. And the more vehicles we put out there, just the greater reoccurring revenue that we get. The other thing that I can say is that, when we put out our forecasts and said, we're at 140 million for next year, that doesn't bring in any of that chassis business that I was discussing with the Poindexter group or really the major truck sales that we're looking at. When you add that in, we've got a considerable upside on what our forecasts are for next year. And the Optimal arrangement in itself brought in $30 million backlog in orders for that factory and about a $600 million sales pipeline. So we really see that, we've got a clear path to get our revenue numbers up to where we want to go.
Could you talk a bit about your revenues in terms of profitability and your cost structure and that? Can you give any, your parts business is what, 30, 40% gross margins? Are your EVs going to be similar to your ICE vehicles in terms of gross margin wise going forward? No, usually you get a better margin on the electric vehicles. We traditionally have always targeted to be 20%. That's if you look at our forecast, that's what we'd be targeting at 20%. But I think there's considerable upside on that as well. We should be able to grow those margins on the EV side much greater and much quicker than on the ICE side. Some of those cost savings and profitability savings comes in as we expand, and part of this optimal arrangement, trying to put together the purchasing power now of greater volume gets you where you need to be. On the electrical side alone, what you're really looking at is kilowatt hours. Each vehicle, I think the smaller vehicles all have about between 110 and 120 kilowatt batteries in it.
our bigger vehicles can run 300-400, the trucks can run up to 150. So when you combine all that together and you say, what is your total battery capacity, that's where you get your better deals. When you can go to the battery manufacturers and say, hey, we're projecting these sort of things, and here's our runway where we want to get, you get volume discounts. And that's where I think we're going to, one of the items that we can really pick up some gross margins on overall on all the products that we're selling.
Well, and I would think as well in the EV space, they've been making ICE engines for 100 plus years now, so that's kind of mature. On the EV side, there's still, the learning curve is still so great, where they're finding new ways of cutting costs, creating efficiencies and so forth, that hopefully that'll trickle down. It'll obviously become more competitive, maybe drop some prices, but I would think it should show up on your profit line as well.
Oh, 100%. It has to. It all comes together. When I look at the electric market today in general, there's a lot of technology coming out of there. We want to keep our hands on what we feel is the best technology, and we're always, testing and trying out new technologies that are coming to market. But what really needs to happen on the electric side is, the storage, the energy storage is getting better and better. And as that comes, you just, give you an example, I'm talking, you get 150 miles on one of these small trucks, or, the shuttle buses are 250 miles. The industry really wants 500 miles. They want the same as whether you're putting a tank of gas in or get your fuel in. That's where they want to get. Can they live with the 250? Yes. But ideally, for their long range transportation and long range passenger moving, they want 500, and it's getting better and better each year. And as that industry grows and those batteries get better and the storage energy gets higher density, the vehicle sales accelerate, because now the battery costs come down as you're producing more, and so on and so forth. So it's just scalability, and brings the price in line.
Speaking of new technologies, we have a question here from the audience regarding what is the status of your agreement with Exro for their Coil Driver technology?
Yeah, I think we've stated on that, on some things in the past. We've got some on order with them. I think we get delivery of the first ones in Q1 here, and then we'll put it on some of our test vehicles and start operating it.
All right. And just going back to the factory, and maybe you said this and I just missed it. For the Washington plant, what is the expected sort of start production, and then how long to ramp up to where you'd be able to get to operate theoretically at full capacity?
Yeah, so we'll stage in. As I stated, the building will be completed before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then we've got to outfit it with the specialized tools, to run the assembly line, and there's cranes, and there's computerized wheel alignment machines and paint booths and things like this that has to go in there. That'll take us Q1 to get that stuff up and running. And I would think we'll start to run a pilot vehicles through, end of Q1, beginning of Q2, and then we go into full production. You got to run 2 or 3 pilots through the line, and then we go into production. So, we're pretty confident we'll be in production in Q2 this coming year.
All right. And is that going to impede your sales until that point, where it'll be a little more muted until you can really ramp up?
No, we'll take the sales on. We've been delivering vehicles out of our Canadian operation here for quite some time. We do have some contract manufacturing capability in the US, so it's not really impeding what we have.
All right. And there is another question here. I'm not sure how specifically you want to talk about your competitors, but how does your Class 6 bus compare in components and costs to those produced by Green Power?
Well, Green Power is when I look at them, they have been selling mostly their EV Star, which is a shuttle van. I don't think I've come across much on their bus side where we've ran into any competition. I bring back to the largest tender for mid-size electric buses was put out in Canada here by Calgary Transit. And that's a 5-year contract. We won it. We won that contract against everybody. So, you know, I wish everybody the best, but I don't see them competing in the bus market with us. I haven't really seen that. You know, the van market, I think they, you know, that's where I see their sales have been coming out of.
All right. Okay. We are well an hour into this, so we should be wrapping things up. I really appreciate your time. Well, are there any final comments, or actually, what I always like to end these conversations with is, what kind of news flow should we be expecting out of the next, like, 6 or 9 months? Obviously, updates on your manufacturing facility. What other types of news flow? What types of news flow should we be expecting?
Well, you know, we've been rapidly expanding. I've seen more tenders, RFPs, bid processes out there than I've ever seen before in my life. So I would expect to see, you know, we don't news release every bid we tender. We only news release the purchase orders. So I would expect us to be coming out with a good news flow, a steady news flow as we go forward here. We're in a very good position. You know, we've stated at 140 million. Some of it's been announced, some of it hasn't been announced. So just watch for the news.
All right. So any sort of significant sales agreements, contracts will be announced, and we should watch that flow come through.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us a nice update on your very busy 6-7 months here since we've last chatted. And yeah, maybe we can talk again in the spring, and once the factory's up and running, and then see how things continue to progress.
Certainly. That'd be great. Thanks, Martin.
All right. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You too. Bye now.